Okay, so relating that with the economy, I mean, yes, rightly so. What do we do? The packages that have been announced, how far-reaching are they? Can they? Should they be? We've got Mr. Atado Peterside joining us this morning via Skype. He's, don't forget, he's founder, president of ANAP Foundation, also the founder of Stanbic IBTC. Good morning, sir. Thank you for joining us today. Well, let me quickly get this out of the way. We read when you were invited by the CBN for that round table, you declined, given certain reasons. So for those who thought, wait a minute, they thought you should have attended because it had to do with the economy. Do you think the reason you gave was sufficient to boycott that round table?
Look, okay, first of all, we have many serious things to talk about concerning the coronavirus, but let me make it very, very clear. If you look at the photographs of that meeting, it was a rich man's club. It was not representative of Nigeria. Almost everybody on that round table knows my views on all these issues. And I can give my views every day, anytime, anywhere. The reason I chose not to go was to draw attention, I made it very clear, to draw attention to an illegality that was being carried out, which was to banish and exile a Nigerian citizen. It is very clear in our laws that that is illegal. And so what I was trying to send the message out was that even if you want me to come and talk about investments and so on, the first thing investors cherish is their freedom. If you're sending a signal to them that their freedom is not guaranteed, why would they invest here? So the point I was making is that let's have a holistic discussion where we discuss all the issues that worry investors, all the issues that concern the economy. Don't focus on a narrow discussion on interest rates and loans and this and that. Meanwhile, the biggest thing worrying our economy is lack of growth. Lack of growth arises because there's no investment. So we have to do all those things. I repeat, all those things that boost investor confidence, including rule of law, guarantee of the rights of citizens and their freedoms. So it was simply a case of drawing attention. And let me make it clear as well, it's not the first time I've drawn attention to Nigerian government trying to ill-treat citizens. I was vocal on the matter of Showore. I was vocal on El Zakzaki. I was vocal on MKO Abiola when he was in prison. I was vocal in Bison 2010 when Obasanjo was locked up and Yar'Adua. So it's nothing new. Government should focus on doing the right thing so that we join the rest of the world in respecting the rule of law.
Now, they've gone ahead and announced some packages, as it were, to see how they could mitigate the impact of coronavirus on the economy. Part of which CBN, for instance, have said that the interest rates have been reduced for the intervention, the stimulus packages, intervention funds that they do have. How far-reaching do you think that particular decision can have?
No, Chamberlain, I think what we owe Nigeria is to turn the satellites on the enormity of the threat first. Coronavirus is global, but I will give you have to understand why Nigeria is unique. There are 4 distinct reasons why our own coronavirus crisis could be worse than that of everybody else. Let me run through those 4 things and tell me whether on any of those I'm wrong. Number 1, Nigeria has a very high population density. We are not like Namibia, where individuals are far apart from each other. So when you have a disease that, if you're close to each other, you can transmit, we are vulnerable. That's number 1. Number 2, coronavirus has led to less travel, less movement, so people don't need fuel to move around. And that has led to less demand for crude oil, which happens to be our number 1 revenue source. So at a time when every other country is talking about stimulus package, talking about bringing up money to fight the virus, we are entering the same crisis with our own revenue stream collapsing and disappearing. That's number 2. Number 3, in the best of times, we had a fragile healthcare structure. Our ratio of doctors to the population is one of the worst in the world. Countries like Italy that have a much better ratio find that their doctors cannot cope. Number 4, we talk about global supply chain disruptions that will affect everybody. Hang on a second. Even before global supply chain disruption, our Papa port, our biggest Lagos port complex, was already inefficient and locked-jammed. So therefore, any delays caused by global supply chain will be exacerbated by the fact that even if these essential things we need land in our ports, we cannot bring them out efficiently and speedily. Whereas Singapore can bring them out of the port in 24 hours, we cannot. You can't even get near the port. So those are 4 unique reasons that let you know why this crisis is serious. And the major first thing that's missing in this crisis is an elite consensus. Please notice I did not say government. In many countries, it was an elite consensus that dragged government to begin to take actions in response. But to answer your question directly, the sum total of the economic measures that we have taken so far are as reassuring as somebody standing in Bar Beach with a bucket in his hand. A tidal wave is coming, and it's assuring you that don't worry, I have a bucket in my hand, you will be okay. So I'm trying to show you that in the worst case scenario, we could be dealing with the biggest crisis that any of us has ever seen in our lives. And I worry because some things the whole world is doing, we still haven't embraced properly. 1, social distancing. In Israel, you cannot have a gathering of more than 10 persons today. It's illegal. In Lagos, people are traveling unavoidably in congested buses, packed like sardines. If one person sneezes, the whole bus gets the virus. The next thing I will also mention is that even this self-isolation and so on, look, we all have to be out there trying to enforce it. The reason I did not come to Channels TV studio today when you invited me was because I explained to you that I came back from the UK. If I'm being responsible, I should not rush into your studio and come close to you. But is that message getting across the whole country? So depending on the kind of crisis you're foreseeing, I suspect that many people are still in an Ebola mode. Hey, Ebola never threatened oil price. It couldn't have. This is the mother of all crises. And the responses so far, please, I'm not blaming anybody. You first have to believe that you are facing the mother of all crises before you leave everything else you are doing and begin to think about measures. The measures we're talking about so far on the economic side are largely routine measures. Also, one last comment on how ready we are. Some of these other countries are coming into this crisis on the economy, fiscally buoyant. We were already borrowing massively, and then our revenue source is drying up. So where are we going to get the money from if we face a serious crisis? Some countries are talking about giving people helicopter money. That means if you ask people to close down their businesses, you've got to find some way for them to earn some income. Some countries can close down shops and rely on online orders. We have a very fragile online industry that's immature. So we have serious problems to address. So my advice to the federal government, state governments, local governments, the entire business community, all social groups, the intelligentsia, the academia, it's time to put our brains together. This is not Ebola.
We know that we do have a unique economic system in terms of a lot of, the unemployment figure is equally there for us to grapple with. People are self-employed. They need to earn a living if they have to consider the total ban. What measures would you like to see the authorities announce such that when they take those steps to ban or restrict people, they cushion people's bottom line of companies or businesses?
Yes, you see, that's a very complicated question, and it's not an economic question, but it concerns all of us. You see, today, I believe they announced in London that even Selfridges, one of the biggest stores on Oxford Street, is closing its doors to everybody. So when you ask people to close their businesses and not to travel, it's very difficult in a poor country. They will turn to you and say, if I don't go to the market, if I don't sell my wares in the market, will you feed me? I'm trying to show you that the magnitude of the crisis we're dealing with would be such that the government has to put onto a fold all the revenue it has. Also consider all the revenue we are wasting. Can we afford to go on wasting those ones? Can we afford various things that we thought we could afford before? For instance, can we afford all subsidies that we are still pursuing? Because those are where the largest sums of money were disappearing. So my point is that we need a more broader discussion. Central Bank of Nigeria does not control how much is spent on oil subsidy. We need a holistic discussion, and I believe that the head of the economic advisory team of the government and people like that who have a holistic approach are welcome to ideas. Some of us are in contact with them. But my point is that the range of measures sound like they're economic, but they go far beyond that. And some of them actually also border on individual freedoms that may have to be curtailed. But sadly, by a government at state and federal level that has no resources to compensate people.
You mentioned earlier something about an elite consensus that should lead, in the conversation, which government should also follow up. There's a lot of things that you have talked about, and if we begin to harmonize them all, point after point, we'll probably be getting somewhere. Are you suggesting that the elite, more specifically, what would you see the elites do now to lead this conversation so that we can get out of the woods quicker than imaginable?
Timberlin and your colleagues, the reason I'm on this program is to help to achieve an elite consensus. I don't work for government, but I can see a crisis arising. And when I say elite, please, I'm not talking about money elite, the type that I met in Abuja last week, where the qualification was largely how rich you were. I'm talking about an elite consensus, people who have knowledge, ideas on fighting this kind of crisis in a holistic fashion. So therefore, civil society groups, academia, every Nigerian that has a contribution to make, we should encourage them to come out. And please, when I talk about the elite consensus, it may sound discriminatory. I don't mean elite in the sense of economic power. I mean in terms of ideas. Pastors can take the lead. The Church of England has said, don't come to church, stay in your house. We have here pastors who should be leaders, telling people to come in large numbers to their churches. We have imams telling people to come in large numbers to their mosques. Saudi Arabia is saying, don't come here. So when I talk about the elite, perhaps I should talk about people who can influence society to embrace social distancing. And China's TV, you can be one of them. So please, this is a broad consensus I'm looking for. If everybody agrees that we cannot continue like this, we have to embrace social distancing in a massive way as best we can. And please, let's be very careful. Even if we embrace the policy, some people comply, some people don't comply. That is an improvement over what we have now. Because as some people comply, they improve the chances of everybody else. Because those who can stay at home can stay at home. Those who don't have to troop out to the mosque to stay at home and pray. I'm sure the Lord will hear the prayers at home. So we are behaving as a nation irresponsibly. Government should be at the forefront of telling us to change our ways. But my point is that I'm being fair to this government at all levels. In many countries I've seen it. It was the general elite that got up. It was the Church of England that said, don't come to church. It was self-rigid management that said, we will close our stores because we don't want to infect people. Then government had no choice. Same in the US. So let's not sit down and blame government. We are all thinking people. If we sell some ideas, government will follow. And then government will lead. But right now, I'm sorry to say, we are not taking this crisis seriously enough. I don't mean the health workers. They are probably doing their best. I'm talking about the rest of us.
We do appreciate your time this morning. It's a conversation that we'll definitely keep having, and we'll also eventually, at least, get back to you in the days ahead such that we're going to have a lot more conversation and, as you also suggested, generate some more consensus such that we could get somewhere with this. But thank you very much indeed for coming on this morning. Atado Peterside, CON, founder of Stanbic IBTC, president of ANAP Foundation. So let's bring you this news which did break not long ago. The ongoing orientation for the National Youth Service has been cut short by the Ministry of Youth and Sports. The minister says this is part of the federal government's precautionary measure against the spread of COVID-19. Now, the orientation program started on March 10 and was supposed to end on March 30. Now, all corps members are to be paid and sent to their places of primary assignment. The DG of NYSC is expected, naturally, to give more details on this matter, and we'll be hoping he does that sooner rather than later. Well, back in a moment. Stay with us.